going on? It's Tobias with Fresh Holistics. I want to talk about personal growth and development and how meditation can actually help us accelerate through that process and help us grow. Now, first of all, we got to set down a little foundation for what it means for us to develop and what development really is. So based off of Ken Wilber's work, he has created a system and a framework. It's quite complex, but we're going to take one of his components, the component being levels and lines. And I think this is a great place to start when we're trying to look at development and how meditation really can actually play a part in that. So basically what we have here is we have a little line graph that shows us lines and levels. Now lines are different categories or different areas that somebody can essentially focus on or have an intention toward development. So right here I have 5 basic lines or categories outlined, and then on the other axis I have a basic 6-level model that shows us the different levels. This is just to keep it real basic for our understanding. We don't need to get too complex. I really want to focus more on the meditation portion of it. So right away, just to review this, we have the cognitive line, which is our intellectual capacities. A moral line, which is what is right or wrong. Spiritual line, which is somebody's connection to the higher source, God, their belief, whatever it is. An interpersonal line, the interpersonal line would be somebody's ability to communicate or interact with other people, a community, all, etc. And then the last one, the kinesthetic line. The kinesthetic line would be somebody's interaction with developing bodily or physically. So a brief example from a historical figure that most people can relate to is Albert Einstein would probably be classified as having a really, really high level of development in the cognitive line. Now that cognitive line would probably be up to 6. He'd probably be maxing out. But his other lines of development might not be so high. Maybe his interpersonal line would be a little bit lower. I don't know. But that gives us a little bit of example of what's going on with levels and lines so we understand what's happening. Now right away, meditation, since this is in relationship, Ken Wilber suggests that the practice of meditation for an hour a day for 4 years has the potential to move individuals up 2 whole levels of development in whatever line that they're working on. Now that is hugely profound. A lot of his research was based off of the work of Skip Alexander's work on transcendental meditation. I think it's worthy to look a little bit deeper into that, but regardless, the empirical evidence is strongly correlating the fact that meditation has the potential to take people up levels that they want to intentionally focus on, which is really, really exciting. This has also been compared with other modalities and other methods like psychotherapy, journaling, writing, role-playing, other things. And all these other methods have only really shown promise to bring people up like 0.25 or 0.5 within the scale. Again, the validity of the exact numbers is not the focus of what I'm trying to illustrate here, but the main focus is on that meditation has some profound effects on development. So I want to talk about how does that work? So let's talk about the meditative experience first and foremost to get a little bit of an understanding. So when somebody meditates, regardless of the technique, they will go into an experience or they will go into a state, in which case they go into the center. And when you go into the center, you essentially allow yourself to experience a state that taps into something greater. And that tapping into something greater allows you to step back. And when you step back, you are taking the position of the witness or the observer. And when you watch, you're essentially disidentifying with your finite being or what you essentially think your real identity is in all different areas. In which case, once you do that, this disidentification objectifies and quantifies what that finite being is, because all of a sudden you have essentially associated yourself with the infinite, with the all, with the absolute. And that gives you the opportunity to see the potential that there is greater levels, that there is more. But when you're at a certain level, what happens is your identity is connected with a certain viewpoint or a certain perspective, a certain interpretation. That interpretation only sees things at that level. So you have to essentially take the witness stand to go there. So Robert Kegan beautifully says that what he's talking about is really like what development is from one level or one stage to the next. So he talks about that the subject of one stage or one level becomes the object of the subject of the next stage or level, which is exactly what I was talking about. Basically, you have somebody at a certain level, a certain identity, which is their subjective being. They disidentify or become the witness, and then they objectify that level, so now that they can transcend and include the next level, and now the next level becomes their subject. Fascinating, I know. So let's go ahead and bounce over here to get a little bit deeper understanding. This is a little flowchart that I created, and it makes the most sense for me of how meditation really induces the opportunity for you to make a choice to upgrade and to expand to the next level. Basically what we have is, if you think about yourself metaphorically as an operating system, the operating system has a capacity to handle certain software, but only software that is at that same level. So from a humanity standpoint, we only have the capacity, if we're at level 3, to handle certain challenges, situations, and relationships based off of the level that we are at. Now, what happens is this identity is going to get a little bit of an experience through meditation. Meditation is inducing that state that I was talking about. We observe and we witness. And when we do that, we tap into the potential. And that potential gives us the understanding that, hey, we can upgrade. Or we can become more of our authentic selves. Or we can essentially experience our magnificence. And we can essentially get out of our own way. So this whole meditative experience is objectifying and essentially separating us so that we can see that there is more. So this whole experience is creating a micro transformation. You're having this experience, this peak experience, this altered state. And this altered state is a lot of times quite scary in the beginning because it's, shaking things loose and you're like, whoa, what the hell was that? I'm not sure. But when that continues to happen and you have a practice, most of the time it's daily, you have a little micro transformation again and again and again. And that's, I think, why meditation is so powerful. And that's what Ken Wilber brings up, is that it's a practice and it happens again and again, as opposed to somebody just having this really, really profound experience, but only having it once, like within a couple years or something, as opposed to meditation's daily. But regardless, you're having this objectified, this micro transformation again and again. Eventually, these accumulated states lead to an identity crisis. And the identity crisis is essentially the realization that there are other values and beliefs and habits and emotions that we can essentially see, and that presents us with the choice. And that choice is to either go back, not necessarily go back, but just stay at the same operating system, or we can essentially expand and upgrade our operating system so that we can transcend into level 4. And level 4 essentially breaks through, and we choose to accept that there are new values, new beliefs, and we choose to strip ourselves or shed the skin of ourselves. Some people relate this to Joseph Campbell's metaphorical death, that we choose to die and transcend into level 4, in which case we have the potential to accept and handle new challenges, new situations, and new relationships. Whenever we have a choice, it's also important to understand that there is always a paradox that is presented, and the paradox is of pleasure and of pain. Now, the pain of the upgrade, or the pain of making that choice, is that there's uncertainty. There's the unknown. There's, what will people think? And then there's also the pleasure, which is the freedom, the relating to something greater, the new potential. So there is that paradox, and that's why the choice, even once you get to that identity crisis, is not always that simple. So this is what I believe is so important and so valuable when you're looking at meditation, and how it really contributes to our intention and our deliberate attempt to actually go into and explore something more, and for us to actually tap into something that tells us, hey, there is something that we can transcend into. There is more. We are ready for higher levels. So this is exactly why I would encourage you to explore the depths of meditation. I think it is very profound. Obviously, there are other methods that I think can help accelerate it. I just think that the evidence is strong around meditation. I think that's one of the first steps as far as personal growth and development standpoint that people can take, and I think it's well worth it, and it helps immensely, especially and if you want more reasons why, you can tap into more of like the acute reasons, but I think this is some profound stuff. So I hope you guys learned a lot. If you want more information, check us out at freshholistics.com. Otherwise, until then, keep it fresh.